I'm supposed to stand behind you.
All right.
Okay.
So maybe you're there.
Commissioner Cho, do you mind if I move this forward?
Go for it.
You are Brooke. Great to meet you. There we go. I was like, and Kate over there though. So that's what we're.
So do you want to stand over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
And feel free to stand like that, or if you want to kind of divide and give a little more room, whatever you're more comfortable.
We're kind of going in height order here. I'm not sure, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, or just?
Just stand somewhere a little more nicely.
Switch ways. Yeah. There we go.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, thank you for joining us today here at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. My name is Sam Cho, Commissioner here at the Port of Seattle. I'm really honored to join Governor Inslee and the leaders here today to discuss the efforts of our state in welcoming and supporting refugees from Afghanistan. As the proud son of immigrants, I know through the experience of my own parents what it's like to arrive in a new country where you may not speak the language or know the system. Seattle-Tacoma International Airport will inevitably be the first impression for arriving refugees, as it was for my parents when they immigrated through SCA now over 30 years ago. This is why back in August, when I first heard about the ensuing crisis in Afghanistan, I directed our port staff to do everything we could to assist in facilitating arrivals and supporting resettlement efforts. And since August, we have been working with resettlement agencies and community organizations to make sure arriving refugees are welcomed and supported as soon as they landed. Right now, we are standing in the SEA Welcome Center, a space that we have designated available 24/7 to resettlement staff who are working with refugees. Our airport and dining partners have graciously donated food. And throughout the airport, you may notice the signage that greet refugees in English, Dari, and Pashto. And lastly, we are working hard to ensure that resettlement staff can access the secure side of the airport so that they can greet refugees at the gate. All this work done collaboratively, and we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the hardworking staff and volunteers who are helping families begin a new chapter of their lives. Over the past 2 months, the response of the community has been nothing short of amazing, and we are grateful for all the community leaders who have stepped up and worked tirelessly behind the scenes. I think in moments like these, it is necessary to remember and reflect on our country's long history of welcoming refugees. Whether your ancestors were Irish fleeing a potato famine, or Vietnamese escaping the grasp of Viet Cong and communism, our country has always had a deep tradition of welcoming those who sought to escape from their circumstances for a better life. The diversity and greatness of our country stems from this tradition. And the leaders before you today are committed to continuing this tradition. The port has stood with Governor Inslee at this airport before to reject hate and declare Washington a welcoming place for immigrants that arrive here. And we are glad to stand with the governor and a range of partners here today to make that clear once more. But there's always more to be done. So I'm honored to be able to turn over the podium to Governor Jay Inslee, who can say more about the ongoing work to make Washington a welcoming state. Governor.
Thank you, Commissioner Cho and your team for establishing this welcoming center. It is a joyous day in the state of Washington. It is a joyous day any time that we can demonstrate the values of the state of Washington, our compassion, our welcoming spirit, our ability to build our state with new Washingtonians. And today I'm here to declare that Washington State is a welcoming state for the people from Afghanistan, leaving the chaos of Afghanistan to come to the fertile fields of Washington State to help build our state. Welcome to Washington State. We already have, I'm told, about 340 people here in Washington who've begun this journey. We hope to have another 1,400 or so join us. And I want to tell you why I believe there are three reasons to celebrate this and look at this as a joyous occasion. Number one, this is an expression of who we are as a state. We are a compassionate state. We understand our common brother and sisterhood, and we embrace people of diverse backgrounds. And we've done this for decades. We've brought 150,000 refugees from 70 different countries since 1975. And it has been an expression of the deepest heartfelt beliefs we have about our commonality across borders. And this has been a bipartisan effort. Perhaps it was no more symbolized than my predecessor, Governor Dan Evans, when he helped expedite people from the Vietnam War as refugees and came here. This is something that is bipartisan. It is something we should celebrate. This is a statement of our values of caring for other people to become Washingtonians. Second, it is an expression of commitment to our allies who assisted our proud men and women who served in the Afghani mission. They stood with our armed forces, shoulder to shoulder. And some of these folks, if not most, who will be coming here, served in some capacity, shoulder to shoulder with our military men and women. Now, I know this was a difficult mission over decades for the American military men and women. But while we are here, can we give a round of applause for our armed service people and the Afghanis who stood with them in Afghanistan? There is a third reason this is a joyous day. It is a joyous day because we're bringing people to our state to help build our state, to build our high-tech companies, to build our medical corps, to build our educational system, because we know that's what happens when we bring refugees here. We've experienced ourselves. Just a personal aside, Trudy and I are upright and taking nourishment because of an excellent physical therapist who came here as about a 5-year-old refugees from Vietnam. Now his relatives have helped build our state. This is a building project in our state, and these are the bricks and mortar, which are ambitious, energetic people who are willing to have the courageous decision to come to a different country to reestablish their lives. This is a good thing for the state of Washington all the way around. Now, we have a lot of people to thank for this welcoming center, but I want to start by thanking our federal partners who've mobilized countless resources across multiple departments of our federal government. They've found shelter at U.S. military bases for refugees. They have processed applications for visas. They have located supports and services. Recently, Congress passed a continuing resolution that provided additional funding for the Afghanistan refugees, and we thank them for that. We thank the President for sticking by these refugees. Now, in anticipation of their arrival, numerous organizations have stepped up to the plate. I want to start with the Muslim Association of Puget Sound under the steady hand of Anila Afzali. She's beginning to locate and coordinate these activities now for weeks and months, and I appreciate her leadership. The same can be said for Care Washington, who's done everything in their power to provide legal services that are so important to these folks as they go through the thicket of regulations to reestablish new lives. And we now are looking at what the Washington State can do to help in that regard. We'll have more to say that in the upcoming weeks to see what might be opportunities for the state of Washington to help with the legal needs of these folks. We want to thank Microsoft, who's pledged $1 million in support. AIRBNB has committed short-term housing for 40,000 Afghans, including many in Washington State. Alaska Airlines, who's donated domestic flights for people to move off military bases to their future homes. To the Port of Seattle, who have created this very welcome center. To the Seattle Foundation, who's building momentum from private donors. To Amazon, and Alice is here, I believe, today, who is looking to coordinate many of these activities. So we know this is an all-hands-on-deck opportunity for the state of Washington. We want to ask everyone to think about contributing to this effort. There are multiple ways to do that, some that I have mentioned. I want to thank our venerable state refugee coordinator, Sarah Peterson, who have been my eyes and ears in this regard. But we know that our work is not done. We need to locate long-term housing for these families. We need to look at all possible job opportunities. And there's a lot of good job opportunities right now, and we know there's a lot of skilled people coming in this group of refugees, and we look forward to the development of their careers. Before I close, I do want to talk about something that is a concern of mine now, and that is the recent acts of anti-immigrant, anti-Asian, and anti-Muslim violence and harassment in our state. It is a blot on our state. I visited the Islamic Center of Tacoma just a few days ago, which was subject to an arson fire. Montlake Terrace Mosque was burglarized. We're better than this. We stand against this violence and harassment. We're going to stand with everybody to do so. I want to particularly thank Abdul Hakim Muhammad, who's the director of the Islamic Center, which we want to work with to prevent this violence. We're going to have as vigorous a law enforcement response to this as possible. I can assure you of this. We are better than this as a state, and this will not stand. So today is a joyous day, not just because we're opening Climate Pledge Arena, but because we have a lot of people who can go to Climate Pledge Arena to celebrate the victory of the Kraken over the Canucks. So welcome to Washington State, and now I'm going to hand it over to Anila. Anila.
Thank you so much, Governor. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Governor, for your leadership, your commitment to creating a welcoming state where we live out our values, and your support of immigrant and refugee communities, including our incoming Afghan allies and friends. Thank you also to Commissioner Cho, the Port of Seattle, our corporate partners, the Seattle Foundation, the Afghan American community who has shown up here today with us as well, and so many community-based organizations and the resettlement agencies who are on the ground doing the critical work. My name is Anila Afzali, and I am the Executive Director of the American Muslim Empowerment Network at the Muslim Association of Puget Sound, and I am also honored to directly partner with Sarah Peterson, the statewide refugee coordinator, on a public-private partnership that we have established to coordinate the great work of our 9 resettlement agencies and the number of different community-based organizations who are working to welcome our incoming Afghan neighbors. And I personally know the refugee story and immigrant experience because my own family and I have lived through them. I personally know the critical role that education, employment opportunities, and integration support play in allowing incoming families to be set up for success and possibly live the American dream. And as an Afghan American with family needing to evacuate Kabul right now because of the danger that they face, I also personally know the trauma, turmoil, and tragedy that's unfolded in Afghanistan, and the difficult and devastating process and experience of Afghans having to flee persecution, especially those who risk their lives and their families' lives, safety, and well-being to stand shoulder to shoulder with U.S. troops. I know I speak for the many Afghans here with us today when I say that it has been an emotional roller coaster for so many of us trying to save our loved ones from harm's way. And with the influx of incoming Afghan families who have had to flee danger, our resettlement systems will be tested in unprecedented ways. And the resettlement agencies, as great as they are, they simply cannot do the work by themselves. This is why we need the community, our corporate partners, our community-based organizations, the Afghan American community, and more to really step up and do their part right now, especially given the pace of incoming Afghan families and the large number that we expect. That's why we have this coordinated effort. We have a joint campaign to raise funds, emergency funds, to help people with the immediate needs that they may not be able to cover under some of the resettlement agencies' support. Or after the 90 days with the resettlement agencies, our fund is going to help that. And All in Washington with the Seattle Foundation has launched a campaign where you will get a chance to donate to that joint campaign. And in addition, we have co-created a website page with the DSHS that will allow you to read about the different community-based organizations and resettlement agencies that are working on this effort. And as I'm going to go ahead and just sort of stop there, but say that one of the most important pieces that everybody can do besides financial contribution, supporting the community-based organizations and resettlement agencies, is to show and emphasize the message that Governor Inslee shared about a welcoming environment for our incoming neighbors. We have these welcome signs. Please take them, post them, put them around everywhere so our incoming Afghan families know that they have the support of Washingtonians and that we are living out our values, showing the best of who we are as a state and as a nation, and also helping make Washington State a model for the rest of the nation on how to welcome families the proper way. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Flora Estrada, and I am a veteran to serve in Afghanistan. I don't have remarks prepared today. However, I'm going to speak from my heart. I'm going to tell you what I know about the veteran community and how we stand behind our Afghan allies, our Afghan Americans. Some, they're still there in Afghanistan. Some, they still need assistance with evacuation, but also those that are arriving here in our nation, in the land of dreaming big and getting that American dream. So I'm going to talk about my service in Afghanistan. I served in Afghanistan back in 2003 to 2004, and again in 2013. I got the privilege to get to know the people of Afghanistan. I got the privilege to get to know the people that has richness in their culture. They have loyalty. And we are in a treat whenever they arrive here in Afghanistan because of their goodness of their food. Also, the goodness of their heart. These individuals have loyalty to the American troops. They stand side by side with us and fight the fights together, not just to create that safety in their country, but also to keep us all safe here. Let's not forget 9/11. Let's not forget the reason why we were in Afghanistan and how this population stand by us, with us, side by side, and die with us to defend the principles of our nation, the rights to democracy, the human rights, having the right to education for girls, for women. They stand next to us doing those fights. You know, oftentimes is the question about honoring the promise. Who made that promise? I made that promise. I made that promise in country when they fight next to me, when they took care of other fellow Americans, when they were right there by us, protecting each other, to stand for the right of democracy, the right of having liberties, to make sure that they have a future. So it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to honor the promise. I will be dismissed not to mention the veteran organizations that are behind the scenes supporting the Afghan community day in and day out. I understand there was an expiration date for American troops to pull out, but the veteran community has not stopped supporting you. The veteran community has not stopped having open arms for all of you. We will honor the promise that we made to all those allies, including Afghan Americans. And I want to emphasize, Americans, they are in Afghanistan waiting for evacuation, waiting to get support. I want to thank the federal government. I understand the Department of State is doing everything they can to act as quickly as they can to get them out, but we're not going to forget about them. Those veteran organizations continue to ask for your support as well, because we are not going to forget that not every single Afghan ally, Afghan American, has made it out of country. Then when they arrive here, it is not over. We have the responsibility, every single one of us, to welcome them into our communities, to ensure they get the services that they are going to need, to make sure our school systems, our employers, and everybody has the resources to support this community. Governor Inslee, you are not wrong to say they have grit, and they are going to make our state even better. I am a daughter of immigrants. I consider an immigrant myself because I grew up most of my life in Mexico. So I am an immigrant myself. I am a proud Mexican American that understands the immigration journey and stand by the people of Afghanistan, those that are here, those that are on their way, and those that are still there waiting for us to support. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Good morning. I'm Kate Benkin, Vice President of Microsoft Philanthropies. Firstly, thank you to Governor Inslee for the work that you're doing and your leadership to create such a welcoming state, and to all the leaders who stand with us today. In September, Microsoft joined the national campaign Welcome.us for this all-hands-on-deck effort to help welcome and support our new neighbours. That started with an initial $1 million commitment to support the evacuation and resettlement of Afghan refugees. Our commitment grows every day as Microsoft employees continue to give to these efforts, and we match their contributions. We also believe that technology plays a critical role in supporting refugees and displaced people. Our technology helps empower non-profits and humanitarian organisations to scale the impact of their workers on the front lines, to manage and allocate aid, and to help populations that need it most. I had the opportunity recently to talk to 2 former refugees about their journey and how the private sector could help. What really stood out to me from that conversation is how important it is to redefine the narrative of refugees. Who is a refugee? Refugees are not a burden, but are assets to our communities. That's why, over the long term, Microsoft is committed to helping Afghan refugees reach their full potential and pursue a new future here in the US. That means providing access to skilling services and connections to job opportunities, and helping Afghan refugees build a community here in Washington State. We're partnering with organisations such as the Muslim Association of Puget Sound, International Rescue Committee, International Refugee Assistance Project, and Upwardly Global to provide those short-term needs like housing support and legal representation, while also helping Afghan refugees develop skills needed to restart their careers here in the US. We look forward to doing more, and we should all embrace this opportunity to welcome Afghan families here to Washington State. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aisha Irfan. I'm with AIRBNB. First, I just want to start by saying thank you, Governor Inslee, for doing your part and your incredible leadership in making sure Washington stays a safe state for incoming Afghan families. I have the honor of working with AIRBNB.org, and I'd love to share more with you today about what we're doing both in the state of Washington but also globally. In August, AIRBNB.org committed to housing 20,000 refugees globally. We saw the crisis in Afghanistan, and we felt compelled to act. AIRBNB has been supporting incoming refugees and folks displaced by disaster for the last almost 10 years. We've worked out a program in deep partnership with community partners and our incredible community of hosts who work side by side to make sure they provide a safe, welcoming stay as folks are looking for a soft place to land. We knew we had some of the infrastructure in place to expand this program globally, and this time we wanted to continue to center the Afghan people in this work. So we've partnered with Afghan organizations across the country to continue to scale and expand this work. What caught us off guard, and it shouldn't have because it speaks to the shared values of humanity and inclusion, is hosts across the world joined us in this effort. They offered to open up their homes. They wanted to be that first landing spot for incoming families. And over 6,000 folks have joined us from across the world, and those numbers continue to grow daily. Over the last 2 months, we've helped house 2,000 refugees across the country. 130 of them are right here in this state. And I think from what I heard, about 300 folks have already made their way in. So about half of those have been supported through our Airbnb's incredible community. And we are looking forward for those numbers to continue to grow. We're looking for those numbers to continue to grow, and we know that Washington is one of the top states where incoming refugees are going to settle. It's one of the top states that's going to continue to need support. So we're doing our part in working directly with community-based organizations and resettlement organizations to provide additional support in addition to what we had already committed. And we're going to continue to be in strong partnership with the folks on the ground to figure out how to scale that. And lastly, I'll just say that I think every single one of us has a role to play. This room is so incredibly packed with community-based organizations, volunteers, folks who I imagine have been doing donation drives and airport runs and just the mix of it. This is a problem bigger than all of us. It's going to require innovative strategies. It's going to require public-private partnerships. Every single one of us has a role to play, and we're so excited to continue to do that with you all. For anyone who's looking to help us in this work of housing our new Afghan neighbors, you can go to airbnb.org/refugees and sign up to host a family yourself. We'd love for all of us to be engaged in that experience. Thank you again for all of your time. Thank you everyone for your work. And we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brooke VATHEUER. I am the Vice President of Strategic Performance in Seattle for Alaska Airlines. Thank you for having me here today. I'd like to start by thanking Governor Inslee for his leadership on this incredible effort, and to all the leaders and organizations here who are actively working to welcome and support Afghan refugees who are resettling here in the wonderful Washington state. Washington is our home to Alaska Airlines and nearly 10,000 of our employees, and we are proud to support this truly heroic effort. Recently, Alaska Airlines and our employees answered the call as a Civil Reserve Air Fleet carrier to provide domestic charter assistance to the U.S. government using our recently acquired military charter airlift contract to transport newly arrived individuals and families throughout the United States. We had flight attendants, pilots, customer service agents, catering coordinators, charter coordinators, and maintenance technicians who signed up literally within hours of receiving initial instructions from U.S. Transportation Command. It was honestly incredible to see. Caring for the safety and well-being of those who travel with us is always our top priority, and we are proud of the role we've played to support this important work. In fact, our company and our employees have a history of stepping up caring for those in need, going back 90 years to when our founders delivered critical supplies and medicine within the state of Alaska, and continuing through the years in our support for the Berlin Airlift in 1948 and Operation Magic Carpet to evacuate 49,000 Jews from Yemen in 1949 and 1950. In addition to our direct support through domestic charter flights, Alaska is providing financial support to our philanthropic partners like the Seattle Foundation, who through the All in Washington campaign are working to mobilize donors and funders to support a coordinated effort to welcome and resettle Afghan families here in Washington state. And our guests have stepped up as well. In the past month, our partner, Miles for Migrants, has received more than 14 million miles donated by our Alaska Mileage Plan members to support critical travel for Afghan refugees settling in the United States. Many of these Mileage Plan members live right here in Washington state, and we are truly thankful for their tremendous support. We're proud to stand here today with the governor and many of our partners from Washington's business and philanthropic community to fervently express our welcome to the Afghan refugees who have and will be joining our community. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm David Bly, the interim CEO at Seattle Foundation, and it is an honor and an obligation to join in the effort, so I thank everybody. I also think it's worth noting, Governor Inslee and First Lady, is the consistency with which you've advanced these values, because I remember back to the Syrian refugee crisis where Governor Inslee was one of the very few elected officials willing to stand up and live by our values, and you took a lot of criticism and controversy. I don't think we'll face that quite here, but it's remembered, so thank you for your constancy. This is a historic moment that we are stepping up to, and I think it boils down to what I feel is a personal obligation, and I think the behavior or actions that we hope we all will take, we've heard some of it here, but when it gets down to a personal level, it's as simple, I think, as first offering a welcoming hand to our new neighbors. 2 is looking out for our new neighbors as they open up a new chapter in their lives. And 3rd, to demonstrate the same generosity and kindness that this state is known for people in a time of crisis and need. I lead the Seattle Foundation, but I represent something much bigger than just our organization, which is All in Washington, or allinwa.org, which was a creation of all of us about a year ago at the beginning of the pandemic, which was a problem bigger than any one of us, just like this one. And that represents our ability to help coordinate, motivate, activate people with resources, often money, whether it be corporate donors, individual donors, other foundations, but also in-kind contributions, and we're hearing that today. Basically, the ability to give in a coordinated, effective, and efficient way. That's allinwashington.org. I do want to just make a special note of the corporations that are here today, because they've done more than their share, and that includes AIRBNB, Microsoft, Alaska Airlines, and Amazon. While they are not here today, but both the Mariners and the Seahawks are stepping up in their own way to welcome our new neighbors. I just want to make really 2 points. This is bigger than us. All in Washington reaches every corner of the state. And the basic principle we learned and that we lived by in All in Washington was to listen and learn from the communities that we are trying to support. And as they work to find basic things like jobs, housing, healthcare, education, the front lines are represented by Anila here. And listening and learning to Anila, but the networks that they've created within the Afghan community itself is how we have figured out how best to meet people's needs. So as we listen and learn to the Afghan community that's here and emerging and growing, we just need to tend to respecting language, culture, and religious differences that exist. And that diversity is a great thing. That's what makes us stronger. But I, for one, have not had a lot of contact with the Afghan community, so I'm on a learning curve myself, and I think we all are. Secondly, and Governor, you mentioned this, is we do live in a moment of polarization in America, and to respond in a respectful and positive way, to model the right behavior, is, to me, the only way to express our values in Washington State, which we do not stand for Islamophobia, nor for xenophobic acts, some of which we've seen, unfortunately, in our state. So this is a rallying cry that's bigger than even just the Afghan community. It's what we stand for as a people here. With that, I hope everybody will join us. Go to allinwashington.org. There are some other websites that help coordinate this. It makes it very easy not to give to Seattle Foundation, but to give directly to the frontline organizations. And you can donate goods, you can volunteer, or for those of you that are really enthusiastic, you can request a sign to put in your own yard to make sure that we are a welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple more thanks to the business leaders who are looking for career opportunities for these new Washingtonians. I think of Bob Donegan at Ivers, who says he's welcoming new folks to come to Ivers, where the slogan is keep clam and carry on. So we want to thank the business leaders for helping out. I have Dr. Umair Shah here today, who's been working on public health issues with the community. Dr. Shah, thanks for your leadership. I think it's good to have you with this community, so thank you very much. I believe we're standing for questions. Is that right, Tara? If people have questions, happy to, any questions to these eloquent folks up here? Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, Governor, so what's the process of helping people settle and start a new life? I know it's not something that can happen overnight or easy. So when a family arrives here, can you walk us through what happens to help them, start over and stuff?
Yeah, I think, let me defer to Anil. Anil, you might be the best one. Do you think you're the best one to answer that question of the process?
I can talk a little bit about it. I think we have much better people from the resettlement agency.
Is there, if there's someone, is Nikki here from the resettlement agency? Is Nikki here somewhere? Let's ask Nikki to go through the process. Thanks, Nikki. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Nikki, if you weren't sure about that. Yes, I work for International Rescue Committee. It's a resettlement agency, and we've been proud to work here in Washington State for more than 40 years. And so what happens is the airport is one of the first most important sites for the families when they arrive. Now, thanks to the Port of Seattle, we have badges, so people can go, our caseworkers who are assigned to each family can now go airside and literally meet the families at the gate, which is a really important welcome. They bring them through to the baggage area, they collect their bags, we take them back. Right now, we're putting people in temporary housing because permanent housing is really difficult to get. So thanks to our relationships with Airbnb, we also have a great partnership with King County and a hotel for the homeless that we're using right now, which has been designated for Afghan families. We take them back there. They have a warm, culturally appropriate meal. They are looking forward to a good night's sleep. And then the next day, we meet them and we start the process of their resettlement. So it's everything. It's a checklist of things, which takes up to 90 days. Of course, the reality is that resettlement takes a lot longer than 90 days, and that's why we can't do this without the community. So it's everything from getting the kids enrolled in school, going to take them to medical checks at public health, and great partners with Jasmine Matheson, State Refugee Health Coordinator, and then getting them signed up for Social Security cards so they can get a job. And getting a job is the most important thing. We know that families coming from Afghanistan are looking to work, looking to be self-sufficient as quickly as possible. These are hardworking people who have come from working with Americans in the community. So we're helping them get a job. And that means that a lot of it's online now because of COVID. So getting their resumes brushed up, helping them with interview skills, helping them get to those interviews. And we have some great partnerships with employers, including with the Port of Seattle. So it's a 90-day process. We're helping those families through that. Right now, the families are coming in with literally, many of them are coming in with just the clothes on their back. I mean, they literally fled Afghanistan with only the things that they could carry, and they've experienced enormous trauma in this process. They've left their loved ones behind as they had to get to the airport, and the trip to the airport was very, very difficult. They've also been waiting on bases to come into Washington. We're excited that Washington is a welcoming state, and all the resettlement agencies are really glad to work in partnership with others. Does that cover it?
And I just wanted to add, so Dr. Umair Shah, Secretary of Health for the great state of Washington. I want to thank Governor for your leadership, and First Lady, thank you as well. And to all of our partners, just a reminder that community-wide problems require community-wide solutions. I think it's really important that in addition to the social aspect, there is a health aspect as well. And so there is refugee health screening that also occurs for every refugee that comes into the state of Washington. In addition to that, refugees, Afghanis who are coming in, they also are vaccinated. And if they are not vaccinated, we verify, and then we also make sure that they are vaccinated shortly after arrival. So I want to make sure it's also clear that not only is Washington welcoming to evacuees and to our refugees who are coming in, but we're also safe and protected in the process. And we do everything we can to protect not just the Afghani who's coming in, the family of Afghanis, but also the community at large. And that's why this is a win-win for all of us. And that's why I think it's really important that the social and the health come together. Thank you. Governor?
So how many people have arrived so far? How many people is the state expecting to take?
Well, there's a federal designation of this. At the moment, there's about 340, as I understand it, who have arrived, and there's about 1,700 that the federal government has essentially vectored into the state of Washington. I assume that could change to some degree. We're proud of that. It's an appropriate commitment Washington State's made, and we're really happy about it.
Is everyone paired with their resettlement program agency?
Well, they're going to make an effort to do that, obviously. But the more private donations we have to accelerate that, the better off we're going to be. Anything else? Any questions? Easy questions? Thank you very much. Are you with the media? Then I'm going to talk to you right after this. We'll talk right after. Any media questions? Okay, thank you very much. Let's welcome our new friends. Thanks a lot.